Hi everyone. Let me check and make sure the stream is working all right. Oh, and there's even people here. That's awesome. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out and having dinner with me tonight. I don't have a ton planned besides just keeping each other company. I know as well as anybody how lonely a day like this can be when you're all alone. So I'm happy you're all here to make it happen with me. Can everybody hear me okay? Let's hear it in the chat. I'm doing something different with the microphone. I want to make sure you can hear me. Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. Yeah, we just got home from vacation. A lot of you know that we were on Valentine's vacation. It's kind of a tradition. I started with Mr. Puckett the dog last year, where we came to Nashville for the first time for vacation. So I figured I had to make that happen again this year with these Pucketts. We have a friend that we met through Discord that I was talking to, and I told her that I was feeling like I was in a rut. You know, I was kind of doing the same things every day, not getting any different results, and just stuck here in Nashville without a vehicle and nowhere to go. So she drove about an hour down to pick me up, brought us all the way an hour back to her amazing historic home up in Springfield, Tennessee, and we've been there for the better part of the week, and it was just the most rejuvenating thing. I mean, I feel so much better now. And I don't know them too well, so I was a little, wondering if our personalities would clash or how it would work. But it was just beautiful. We spent, almost every second of this week together. They loved the dogs. The dogs were on their best behavior, and it was just the greatest thing. So I'll have to put some of those clips in a video because I want to share with you how amazing this place was. I put some pictures on Reddit. If anybody's over there, you can check them out. Let's see what's going on in the chat with everybody today. We have Dayton, Ohio. What's up, Ohio? Happy Valentine's Day. PJ did learn something. That's funny you say that. He was noticed himself in the stream. I don't really have any mirrors in my house except for the bathroom one, which is high up in face level. But he discovered mirrors for the first time, full body mirrors that he could look into and see himself. And I got some funny video of that because he was barking and creating a scene when he saw himself in the mirror. It was awesome. Thank you, Angela. Happy Valentine's Day. I wasn't sure if we'd have anybody here. My last video, I kind of introduced this that I was going to do this today, but that video got the least amount of views of anything I had ever done. So I wasn't sure if anybody even knew I would be here. It feels really nice to see that everybody else is here too. Awesome. Thank you, James. That's awesome. For dinner, I just have something simple. I don't cook. It's something I did a lot in my past, but for some reason now I just absolutely hate it. So I just steamed up some vegetables is all I have, and some sparkling water. And one thing I do make, though, that makes all of my meals better is pesto. I make some amazing pesto in these really huge batches. And then once it's cooked, or once it's finally done, I pour it into ice cube trays, and I put those ice cube trays in the freezer. Pop those ice cubes out and put them in a plastic bag, and then you have frozen pesto in about a serving size that'll last you a full year in the freezer. And all you got to do is take it out and warm it up, and it's good to go every night. So I guess that's one thing I do pretty well is make a mean pesto to put on anything I have. Yeah, I guess that's something I didn't consider, that PJ can't see over my little table here, and I don't know if you can make out exactly what this is, but I noticed on my last stream that one of the dogs kind of hit the mic, and it got a little hard to listen to in the last hour there. I was cutting out from time to time. So this is just a tincture bottle that I have put on the table, and my mic is glued to it. So hopefully this works a little bit better. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. One thing you'll hear me talk about a lot this week, and you might have already heard me talk about some, is Puckett Week. It's officially Puckett Week starting this week. It's the anniversary of the last day Mr. Puckett the dog was with us. It's PJ's first birthday, and it's the anniversary of the day I adopted Mrs. Puckett, all in the same day, really. So what we're going to do this year is use that as an opportunity to give back. So I went on my local Facebook page here in East Nashville and asked people who does a lot of good in our community that we can support. here on the internet with all the things we do, just like however many places we supported when we were doing this on Imager. And the best place that I found was something called the Mary Parish Center. It's just down the road from here in town. They do so much. I'll have a video that explains more of it on Thursday, but at their heart, they help people get out of domestic violence situations. So they have temporary housing. They call it transitional housing because you can stay there for even a year at a time once you get out of an abusive relationship. And they help people go through the courts while they're there too if they're pressing charges. They help people with clothes and food and then even employment too once you're ready to get back into the workforce. So it's an amazing thing here in our community that I don't think I realized how prevalent and how much their help was needed until I started talking to people down there at the center, where they told me that 1 in 4 women in their life will go through some type of domestic violence situation, and 1 in 5 men will go through it as well. So I don't think I had any idea how big of a problem it was and how much their services were really needed. So I'm excited to do a supply drive and maybe fundraising if they'll let us. We're still going back and forth on that this week. So you're going to hear me talk about that a lot. I'm really excited to finally give back again. I think I mentioned in the last video that it's been a long time since I'd done anything like a supply drive or a fundraiser. So I'm excited to get back into it and hope we can do it off the site that we used to and still be just as involved and help them just as much. So Puckett Week is almost upon us. You're going to be tired of me talking about it by the end of the week, but it's for a good cause. So Nunya Bynes said you just came back from Hermitage. Oh man, yeah. So I was supposed to stay out there on vacation. We didn't really have a time set, but I thought I'd still be there for this stream. But with the ice storm coming here in Nashville, just rain that's going to freeze overnight, they're talking about some some of the iciest roads this area has ever had, and even snow in some places. So they brought me back a little bit early. So I'm glad you made it from Hermitage because the roads are about to get so crazy out there. I'm really thankful that I don't have to drive or get on a bus or do anything like that for the next couple of days. And I think I read online that every single county in Texas is under a state of emergency for bad weather too. So it's not just here, it's happening all over the country and in places like Tennessee and Texas that are just not prepared for it. We don't see that kind of stuff here. So Minnesota has the snow plows out 24 hours a day. They know what they're doing, but we just don't have those resources here. So stay safe if you're going to be driving in the next couple of days. Trip Upstairs asks, will I put the links for charity on YouTube? Yes. And even more than that, I think what I'm going to do is this Thursday's video is just make that whole video about what we're doing to really suck people in and to get down to the brass tacks. So it's not just one tweet where I'm like, hey, help me. I really want to talk about this place and talk about how much they're needed. I think it kind of flipped a switch in me that if I didn't know how much of a problem this was and how much we needed resources like theirs, then probably a lot of people don't either. So I'm thinking Thursday's video, I'll just do all about, a little bit about Puckett Week and why, and then a whole lot about the Mary Parish Center and how we can help them. And then I'll throw all the links up there and everything too. So it'll be on every platform that I'm on, and hopefully we'll do some good. Kristen, yeah, you're not too far away from me, so you're going to see probably the same type of weather that we are here in Nashville. It's going to get bad, and even I was about an hour away from Nashville, and it's so much colder. I don't know anything about weather or how it can be so much colder 1 hour from somewhere else in the same state, but it was the coldest 4 days that we had this entire winter, me and the dogs, were the last couple of days up in Springfield. So running in like 18-degree wind chill, it was probably their first time, the coldest they had ever been, but they did great. They did a lot better than I did. I was complaining a little bit, but we still got out and ran every day, and it was cool to do it outside the city too. I love running downtown Nashville, but it has so many drawbacks. It was just nice to be out in the country where we could run 10K, 20K and not see another person. It was a really cool feeling. Wow, it's 1 a.m. where you are. That's awesome. Thank you for being here so late. You're in the future, so I hope you had a good Valentine's Day. Greg asks, how much snow did you get on the west side of the state? Unfortunately, I don't really know too much about that. I don't even really watch the Weather Channel. It was just because I was on vacation at these people's houses, it was a topic of conversation, and then because they drive, it was a lot more important to them than it was for me. So I'm not too sure how much other parts of the state got, but probably more than us from the looks of it, because it looks like it's a lot more hectic on the west, and then to the east and the Smoky Mountains too that are also getting drilled with snow. Somebody told me in the last stream that I wasn't drinking enough water and my throat sounded coarse. So that's something I'm gonna try to make a point to do today while I'm talking, is drink enough water. And hopefully not let the stream just die because my phone did. So I don't think we'll be going for 2 hours today because I know my phone can't take it. But so many people stayed for that entire live stream last week and a half, and that was so awesome to see. I thought we'd be there for 20 minutes, and we were there for 2 hours. That was so cool. Oh, you're in Finland. Okay, awesome. I've never been there. I've always wanted to, because the city that I grew up in was settled by Finnish people, and it is still largely people of Finnish descent. And I mean, the town is, and the surrounding areas have so much Finnish influence. It's just amazing to see that it really kind of almost feels like you're not in America in some of these cities. So I've always wanted to go to Finland, and I guess I'll have to hit you up if I ever do go there. All right. Sanford says, I cannot get over how well spoken you are. That's so sweet. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all, I guess. I've spent ever since high school in 2003, I've spent the majority of my time alone. There were some girlfriends mixed in there, but not like large groups of friends, and for the most part, just living all entirely alone. So when the free pizza dude got some cool coverage, and it was on the news here in Nashville, and then it kind of just blew up. The story got ran all over the country, the same story just used by different news channels. Some of my friends saw it that I grew up with, and hit me up on Facebook, and they said something like that too. They said I was well spoken or something like that, and I thought, oh, that's nice. I had no idea that I was even any different than I used to be, but I'm sure it helps obviously that I'm not drinking, and I'm a lot more clear-headed, even if I'm pretty exhausted tonight. But I think the talking has gotten a lot easier. I look at my first video on YouTube, and I kind of cringe with some of those earlier ones, but that's a sign of growth. You know, when you look back on something you did long ago and you're not completely fulfilled by it because you can do better now, that just shows how much you progressed. But there are a lot more ums and ahs and things like that, a lot more fillers in those earlier videos that I'm trying to kind of get over. So it's been fun. I never thought about my speaking habits much before I started doing this YouTube thing. James asks, how is the beardless treating you? I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all. It's been fun. I've been kind of messing with my hair a little bit, which I never used to do, just because of that video where I played 3 different news correspondents, and I thought it was a fun idea to shave it off because I don't have to look a certain way for a job or for a woman or anything like that. I can kind of do whatever I want, but I definitely like the beard more. I do not feel like myself without the beard. I think maybe I can hide behind the beard a little bit. I'm a little more self-conscious without it. With my smile, I have a fake tooth that I'm really self-conscious about, and the beard kind of takes away from that. So I will be growing the beard back, but for now, the beardless is okay. I've gotten a lot of nice comments on it, which always makes me feel a little bit better. She says the video is kind of blurry. I'm not sure what that could be. I don't know. I know my lighting in here is terrible. My entire place is so dark, and I just have these 3 track lights up there, and that's all I have. So I know that's something that's definitely holding me back, that I don't have any good lighting in here. So I'm sorry if the video isn't perfect. I don't know what it could be if it's anything but that. Thank you, 80 Trout. Practice makes perfect. Yes, definitely. So that's something I really do want to get, is some lighting, some better mics. There's definitely a lot I want to invest in to make this channel better, but that's got to come come slowly but surely because it's not something I can just kind of pile on and do right now. Even the tripod I had was sent by somebody on Reddit who reached out to me who watches these videos. So it's not even a tripod I bought. It was sent to me by one of the beautiful people that watches this. So yeah, hopefully I'll get some better stuff. And definitely my phone too, as a camera, works so much better outside. When you see the clips from like 20 Wholesome Things and I'm outside with the city in the background, it looks so much better. And it's the exact same camera I'm using right now. So I think a lot of it is just the lighting. Edward asks, "How are you and the cute doggos doing?" We're good. We're good. It was such a long couple of days, and we didn't even do that much on vacation. But you know, when you go somewhere different and everything else is new, I don't know. It just took a lot of mental and emotional energy out of me, and also communicating. You know, I spend every day by myself in this apartment. I see my friends once a week. We go out for food, but besides that, I don't do a lot of talking unless I'm making these videos. So being with people for the majority of every day there on vacation was awesome. There was nothing bad about it at all, but it definitely took a lot more energy out of me than it usually does. So I got home today at 3 o'clock, and I made sure to get a quick nap in, and just woke up and sped around my apartment to try to get this video ready and steam some vegetables for the camera. Yeah, yellowish. Exactly. Yeah, it's terrible lighting, but yeah, we'll work on that. Did anybody else actually bring food? Is anybody else actually eating dinner right now? Taco Bell, awesome. You know, Taco Bell has become a pretty awesome thing for vegetarians because their menu is so customizable. You can walk in there and ask for anything and sub anything for meat, and I guess if you have to have fast food, it's been a good tool for me as a vegetarian. Japanese food, pot roast, pasta, man, you guys have such better food than I do right now. Pizza, that's awesome. And that was another great part of this adventure out to Springfield. They cooked every meal for me. And I don't cook. I'm much more of like a handful of cashews and shove some kale in my face kind of a guy. So to wake up and have blueberry waffles freshly made, and to have, you know, a vegetable roast for lunch, and then go into like an enchilada bowl for dinner, that was so incredible. I didn't bring any food at all. I didn't buy any food at all. They just fed me like I was their child. It was the best thing in the world. Yeah, PJ was pretty rambunctious over there too, for sure. I wasn't worried about him. I was worried about Mrs. Puckett because she has anxiety issues, and holy cow, on the way there, she was just freaking out in the car. She hasn't been on many car rides, let alone one that went for an hour. I guess that was her longest one ever. And then getting there, and they had cats too, and she was just a nervous mess. But by the middle of the second day, she was cuddling up with the people who owned the house who brought me there, and she was just a ball of love, and then PJ, a ball of energy, of course, but he did good too. He didn't tear anything up, you know. He didn't bark in the middle of the night. They were both so perfect. I was so proud of them all weekend long. It was awesome. Yeah, Emily, Chihuahuas are really high energy. That's something we talked about at the shelter when I did adopt him. Was that people have this negative connotation about Chihuahuas because a lot of the times the people who adopt them are not exercising them. You know, they want them as a lap dog, which I won't say is a good or a bad thing, but that certainly builds up a lot of energy with them. Whereas people will say that PJ doesn't seem to have a ton of Chihuahua tendencies when they meet him, but that's just because he doesn't have a ton of energy. He's running 35 miles a week, and we try to keep him mentally stimulated when he's at home as much as possible. So yeah, it's kind of all in how you raise your dog, and I love him to have energy. I'm not going to run him 60 miles a week so he can't move in the house, but certainly a little bit of exercise will go a long way with those tiny breeds. And even Mr. Puckett the dog, you know, he was three yappy dogs all put together, but he was the most chill dog ever because he ran so many miles in his life and experienced so many different things too. We traveled so often, so he was never nervous or anxious because it was almost like he had done everything, you know, so nothing surprised him anymore. Whereas these two have a long way to go, but they'll get there at some point for sure. Actually, yeah, I think so. PJ does like the veggies. PJ, here you go. Mrs. Puckett, not so much. I don't think she'll eat them, but PJ is all about the steamed broccoli. He loves it. Come on. Come on, buddy. Yeah, she'll pass, but PJ's all over it. You want to try a carrot? No? She's too good for that. She's too good for that. Hey, Baby Fark in the chat. That is awesome. What's up, dude? It's so awesome to see you. If anybody doesn't recognize that name, Baby Fark McGee's Axe, he's the best giffer in the world. He does the intergalactic quality gifs on Imager and also on Reddit as well. I think he's on High Quality Gifs subreddit. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he's made a few of Mr. Puckett, and I think even one of PJ too. He's just one of the nicest guys I ever met on Imager. It's awesome to see you, man. Any steamed hams, Edward? I don't even know what a steamed ham is. So I was thinking back to some of the past Valentine's Day that I had, and it was so cool. There's one thing I really love Facebook for. I don't use it a ton. I never browse it. I'll update sometimes, especially my dogs. But one thing I really love is the memories tab, to see all the stuff that I posted in the past and what my life used to be like. And a lot of that is pretty cringeworthy, and a lot of that is me posting in different states of drunkenness and debauchery. So it can be pretty embarrassing to look back on. But today was a cool one because I saw all the Valentine's Days I had with Mr. Puckett, which were some awesome things. I mean, we'd set up dinner together and sit at the table. We always did something for Valentine's Day, so it was cool that last year we started the tradition of the vacation on Valentine's weekend or Valentine's week, and we were able to continue that this week and not even have to do an Airbnb. We didn't drop $500 on a vacation. We didn't drop $1 on the vacation. We were really, really lucky to have friends that took us in this week, for sure. Hey, Chris, welcome, man. What almost my filter? Speaking of Imager, after leaving, do you still browse from time to time? No, I definitely do not. I stay away from my notifications. My notifications scare me on there. I feel like anytime that there was a while there that every time I clicked on those notifications, 1 out of every 10 was something like so incredibly mean and and hey guys, come on, we don't need the barks. We don't need the barks. Was something so mean and oftentimes against the TOS too, but it just scared me to go on there. So the only thing I do on Imager now is I started the free Pizza Dude Discord server, and they continue on in there. They still post every Friday and some other days of the week. So when they take everyone that the post is live, I'll go there and upvote it. And that's about the only thing I do on there right now. But it's funny you asked that, because it's one thing I've considered doing this week just to get more eyes on the Mary Parish Domestic Violence Center, to actually make a post on there and talk about the supply drive that we're going to be doing, because that's a way I could get 150,000 views on it rather than the far less than that I would get on Twitter or anywhere else. But it still scares me to do that, because I know that there's going to be quite a few comments that are just terrible. So maybe I'll work up the courage to do that on Imager. I'm not really sure. But as far as browsing goes, that's a definite no. I've gotten a little bit more into Reddit, but I think mainly I've been on Twitter a lot. Once I figured out how I can adequately browse for things that I want to and use the search function to my advantage, I've started to like Twitter rather than just kind of going down the trending list and looking at politics or K-pop or things that aren't necessarily interesting to me at that moment. I've started to really like Twitter because I've just been able to use it better for my own thing, which is looking at everything that's in Nashville, looking at everything that's in Minneapolis, and doing some sports stuff too, kind of following football that I like to do. Emily, thank you. Yeah, Thomas, that's my parenting style with the dogs. Eat some broccoli and stop barking at the camera. Yeah, that's a good point. Julian says, I'm sorry, that Jane says that I could just not post that I don't have to post that on there. I guess I'm worried with this being the first supply drive and first charitable thing that I'm trying outside of Imager. I guess I'm just like extra worried that's going to crash and burn and nothing's going to happen. So I think that's maybe why I've been thinking about doing that, just because every time I did do one on Imager, it turned out great, just because all those posts were seen by so many people that you're bound to get a percentage of them to help out. So I guess maybe that's why I think I'm more nervous about the whole thing failing than I am about putting that up there and just having a terrible day in the comment section. I don't know. So maybe I just need to be more confident that we'll be able to do something great this week. Do you think you'd be able to travel overseas with the fur babies sometime in the future? Probably not. And that's more on me. I hate to fly. I have just unbelievable motion sickness. If I sit in a chair and twirl around 360 degrees, it'll ruin my entire day. It's just an inner ear problem that's gotten progressively worse in my life, and that's despite any medication I might have tried for it. So I probably will never be on a plane again, which I'm okay with. And that's tough now that I don't drive, because that didn't bother me in the past because I had a vehicle and could drive anywhere in the country, and I did. I saw almost the entire 48 states by doing that. But now that I don't, it feels a lot more restricted, which is why it was so great to get out of the city this week. But that was actually, I took some more of the Ask Me Anything questions, and I have those today in case we had like a lull or a quiet spot. And one of those was, if you won the lottery, what would you do, or how would you spend the money, or something like that. And that was my first thought, was I'd get an RV or a camper or something like that, and have a friend, drive it around country, so I could actually still experience all this travel with the dogs, but not be responsible for driving, for flying, or anything like that. So that'd be my first thing. And then obviously it could do so many more good things financially. I mean, with everything I did on Imager, I don't know if I ever gave more than $100 at a time. And most of the time with the fundraisers I did, $42 was my amount, right? Like I could do that once a week and be perfectly fine in my non-existing bank account. So $42, which isn't much at all, but to think about having a bankroll that doesn't end where mine does, and how much good you can do with it, it's just mind-blowing, because I can't think of a lot of things I would buy for myself. I love my little home. I'd probably buy a house, but I love having this small enclosed space because I don't have things to fill it up. When I first moved to Nashville, I had this huge 2-bedroom apartment over by Vanderbilt. God, was it like 1,500 square feet, which might not sound very big to some of you, but for just a single dude, it was just way too big for me compared to, I have like 450 square feet now. So, yeah, it would just be an interesting way to give back and to do it from an RV and have a lot of fun seeing the country. Thank you, Kristen, who said that I thought my live streams would fail, and look at how great those go. And that's a huge testament to you guys, I think, more than it is me. And I love seeing a lot of the familiar faces in here too. Everybody's YouTube name is different, so I don't know who everybody is in the chat by their YouTube name, but I recognize a lot of the people who are usually making comments on the videos or in the Discord server. If anybody out there doesn't know, we started a Mr. Puckett Discord server that's just for uplifting positive stuff. And I think more than anything now, it's kind of just been a way to support each other and cheer each other on. So you can hit me up somewhere if you wanna check that out. It's been pretty fun so far. The free pizza dude could post it. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not my account anymore. I handed everything over to Murphy's Pandora's Law Box is his username, and he's been amazing. They have been so structured since I left there. I mean, they have spreadsheets and like Google Docs, and they're doing so much more as a group than I was doing when I was there. I'd show up an hour early, take care of all the emails. I'd spend 8 hours doing it, and then stay an hour late to take care of all the back end stuff, and then I wouldn't touch that project once until the next week. So it was kind of my goal to do the least amount of work to have the most amount of impact, where they're doing a whole lot more work as a group now. They're doing awesome. They're doing great things. Excuse me. So let me ask: did you ever think that the Pizza Angel thing would carry off from the start? No, no, that wasn't the plan at all. I made a video about that. It was my second YouTube video. It was pretty rough around the edges, but it was only supposed to be one post. I was just going to throw the username away after. It was just one day. I had a bonus from work, $300, and I wanted to kind of give it away in a fresh way. So I made that username, and it was going to be one day, and that was it. But I got so many messages after that post, and almost none of them were people looking for food. It was all people who wanted to help, whether that was contribute financially or they were asking me to do another post so they could actually do the Pizza Angel work. So we did one more post. That was going to be the last one, and it just kind of went on like that. Every single one was going to be the last one until maybe 2 months into it. I started the Discord server, maybe 3 months into it, and I saw how many people were interested in keeping it moving along. So it took 2 or 3 months before I realized that we were going to be doing this for a long time. But even back then, I don't think I would have said it had gone a year, or I never would have thought it would have outlasted me. That if you would have told me a year ago that I was going to leave Imager, I would have definitely thought that the Free Pizza Dude would have just died. So it's pretty awesome to see that carries on without me. And for anybody who hasn't seen it, I'm now doing that on Twitter. With much less success, definitely, but it's starting from ground zero. I started a new account with no followers and no angels either. So we got, I think, 32 pizzas the first week, and then it was down to 6 the next, and then 8. So it's tough to even break that 10 mark now, just because we're not getting the requests. I'm able to fill them all, but we're just not getting the requests. So it's been tough starting over there. But it'll grow. People just have to see us come back every week. They have to see that it's going to be a staple of Twitter too, just like it is on Imager. It'll just take time. One thing that I'm a little thankful for, I guess, is that it's not too crazy yet, because the 8 hours that I would post on Imager were the 8 craziest hours of my week every single week. There was so much that I did that I wouldn't even go outside, or sometimes even stand up. I would just sit there, and it was just hard at work the whole time trying to keep everything in order. So it's much more chill on Twitter, where I can kind of walk the dogs and be away from my phone for 30 minutes because we're not getting bombarded with requests. But hopefully someday we will, and hopefully that day also we'll have a whole bunch of angels that help too. Right now we have MN Pizza Dude, who was in our last live stream. He's great. And then we had 2 Imager Pizza Angels who helped on the last post. So we've had 3 other people besides me send food now, and hopefully that keeps growing too. All right. Aiden Trout says, I need to confess something right now. It wasn't until your first YouTube video that I realized I was pronouncing Imager incorrectly. Thank you. I heard that a lot with once the Free Pizza Dude was on the news, and then it got posted on Imager a ton because I said Imager, and I guess there were like a ton of comments that said that I was pronouncing it wrong, which I thought was funny. But they even have a part of their website. You can type in, how do you pronounce Imager, and Imager has an actual website for it, and it'll tell you to say it exactly like that. But if anybody remembers the Swimagurian from the last, 2 Olympics ago? I think it was 2016. Cody, I can't remember his last name off the top of my head, but he was an Imagurian, and he was posting about his path to the Olympics as a swimmer. He did like a 4x4 relay of some type. And I think Phelps was on his team. But regardless, he got up to the microphone and they interviewed him after they won. They took gold and said, who do you want to thank? And one of the people he shouted out was Imager, but he said Imgur. And I just thought that was the funniest thing in the world, because it just sparked this whole debate and user sub on how exactly you say it, because it was on this international stage that he said this and he pronounced it wrong. I thought it was adorable. But I haven't heard much from him. I hope the Swimagurian is still out there and I don't know, in the Olympics, I guess. Sounds like a lot of people say it differently. Wow, we got a whole bunch of different pronunciations. That's awesome. Well, I mean, it's IMG, image, and then image. But I definitely see the confusion. I don't know if I knew how to pronounce it at the start. And I mentioned on these videos that I used to say GIF. For like 4 years, I used to say GIF instead of GIF. So um, as long as you're not arguing about it too much, I think it's fine, whichever way you say it. All right, we've lost the dogs. Let's see if I can lure them back here. Come on, girl. Come on. Yeah. You don't even eat this, but I got you. All right. Come here, Bubs. Come on. My little Bubs. My little Bubs. Hey. Want some more? That's awesome. Yeah, no, she'll chew it up. I don't know if you can see her. Yeah, you can see it. She'll chew it up. I don't think she'll swallow it though. She doesn't. She's so dramatic. I'm gonna take one of the questions off of the Ask Me Anything that I didn't do the other week. Um, Somebody asked. Okay. I got 6 questions, and the one that stood out to me was, "What's the dumbest thing you've ever done?" And that's what a question, because my past is riddled with dumb things that got me in trouble in one way or another. What's the dumbest thing I've ever done? Oh man, that's so huge. I guess, man, I probably it'd be a single act that I did multiple times, and that was being in sober homes, sober camps, or homeless shelters that didn't allow drugs and alcohol, and using drugs or alcohol in those places. So, getting off the street and being in a homeless shelter for the night, that really the only rule is keep to yourself and don't use drugs or alcohol, and you can stay. But if you drink, or if they catch you using drugs, they'll kick you back out onto the street. And even worse than that are some of these sober homes that you can stay in for 30, 60, 90 days while you try to get your life together. And they'll feed you. I mean, you've got a bed, you've got everything, and you're living in bunk beds, and there's 16 guys in a single room, and it's terrible, but it's so much better than being on the street. I mean, it's not even comparable. So to use drugs and alcohols in that situation is just such a desperately stupid thing, because you have a chance to get better, and all you're doing is not only not getting better, but so many of those places I got kicked out of because I was using. And I talked about that in probably what was the first Imager post that people ever knew me for, which was called PCP and Me. And you can even Google that, PCP and Me, a Mr. Puckett story, and that'll come up. And it's a crazy story that maybe I'll make a video about someday. But yeah, it was using PCP in a sober home and eventually getting kicked out. Okay, guys. Okay. And getting kicked out. So that's probably the dumbest things that I've done in a whole life full of dumb things. Hi. You have energy now? Do you have energy now? Okay. All right, so we have something here from Turbo Cake. Let's see. I watched your recent AMA video on here, and you mentioned being nervous about your future come August. What is in your future, work-wise and creative-wise? What can we do to help? I mean, that's exactly what I'm nervous about, is that there is nothing in my future work-wise yet. Something I kind of just started looking heavily at. And I have a part-time job now that doesn't pay the bills. It's just something that kind of puts a couple of bucks in my pocket. So I look at my finances and I stretch that out over the next few months to kind of see how long I can keep this up without having a real job again. So that's what makes me nervous, is when I see that the end of that, and the possibilities and all the horrible possibilities that could come with not having finances at that time. So that is terrifying for sure. But I mean, it's a couple of months away, so hopefully something will change between now and then. Um, Hopefully, because I've mentioned multiple times on this channel, and that's the first thing I think about when I wake up is if I'll ever be homeless again, and having flashbacks in the middle of the night of when I was homeless, and um, yeah, that's what scares me so much about the future is thinking of not having a place to sleep again. And it's not even like all the things I did during the day while homeless. It's just that one thought of like trying to fall asleep in an alleyway or a junkie park, being surrounded by people. It's just a terrifying thought for sure. So, how you can help? I don't know if I have a good answer for that. Um, if your workplace is hiring and it's remote or here in Nashville, hit me up. But besides that, I guess just keep being there for me. It means a lot that I have the emotional support and also the YouTube support. I mean, I'm not going to kid myself. I put these videos out because I want people to see them, and if nobody was watching them, I wouldn't put them out. So, I mean, it's not like I'm going to be a millionaire on YouTube. I don't make any money off these videos, but to have people show up means a lot to me emotionally, and to have people here now means so much to me because I don't really have a lot of that in my life. Um, having kind of two friends here and then my two friends up in Springfield that I mentioned I was on vacation with. So just having people be here and communicate with me still too, it's just meant the world to me for sure. When I felt so alone after leaving Imager and had so many people there turn on me, it's been great to kind of build up, I guess, a community again of people that can support each other. IW4, are you serious? What's up, man? Isaac. If anybody doesn't know IW4, I met him on Imager. He does a lot for Extra Life, the 24-hour streaming for charity, and yeah, he does a ton. If I'm not mistaken, he's on Twitch, where he's got a following there and does a lot of good with his proceeds there and donating them to charities and good causes. So IW4, I haven't seen you in a while, man. It's really nice to see you. Thank you for stopping by. And he says, "What happened to your face, man?" I did a video last week where it was a fake news show where it was like just positive news, and I thought it'd be cute to have the anchor have a clean face, and then have the two field correspondents. One had a full beard and one had just a mustache. So it was just a silly thing I did for a video, and it'll grow back. It'll grow back. Captain Blackudder says, "Have you?" Whoop, I lost it. It says, "Have you considered setting up a Patreon account? I'm sure plenty of us would happily support your content." I guess I've thought about it. Somebody mentioned that on one of my videos, and then I spoke about it a little bit in the live stream, the last one we had. It sounds awesome, right? It sounds really cool to be able to do that, but I worry it kind of cheapens the whole thing that I'm doing here, and kind of makes it then about the money instead of the positivity and the having fun putting out videos and interacting with everyone. So, yeah, I mean, it's an awesome idea for sure, but I'd never I'd never made $1 off of anything I ever did on Imager or any other platform for that matter. So to do that here, I guess just worries me that it would make the whole thing, it would just turn the whole thing into money then, instead of the content and the positivity, which is really what it's about. So I guess it's something for me to think about and maybe even talk to some of you about, to see if it would cheapen the experience for you, or what you'd have to say about it. But it's a good question. I mean, it would be pretty cool to do. I'm not going to lie. It would be pretty awesome. People comment a lot that you should write or look into public speaking. Please consider it. You have a valuable and important message to tell, and it's who you are. You are so important. Well, that's really sweet. Thank you. Public speaking is something I'd love to get into someday. I talked a little bit about how I've done that in my past, but that was in a political arena where I gave speeches all over the Midwest and the East Coast, but that was decades ago. So I'm hoping that when I finish my book here in the next couple of months, that maybe that can be something I get into, whether it's motivational or just telling my story, even if it's at, a little tiny rehab or a little tiny school, and talking about what drugs and alcohol did to me, or talking about how I got away from them and how my life built up from there. So hopefully there's opportunities that come with that. Who knows? That would be really awesome. Yeah, Burpo Stitch says I should have a an OnlyFans, but just with cute pictures of dogs. I do hear that OnlyFans has like some content that's not nude. I don't really know. I'm perfectly honest, and I've never been on there. But that'd be pretty funny. I thought I'll probably do that as a April Fool's joke. I'll give you all a heads up that on Twitter I'll go on there and say, I finally made an OnlyFans account. I'm not ashamed of my body. Here's some content that all of you've asked for, and then maybe tweet out like 6 hours later, I'm just playing. I didn't do that on OnlyFans. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. I will consider the Patreon a little bit more, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's always been Patreon in my eyes, but we'll find out. Yeah, I could do the Chris Farley motivational speaker, the van down by the river. I guess I could do that. IW. Yeah, Emily, talking about graduating and being nervous about a job, I can definitely relate to that. When I got out of high school, I'd already had my own apartment. I lived on my own when I was a senior in high school. When I was 16 years old, I had an apartment with my girlfriend as my family moved outside of town. So after high school was a huge stressor for me, not knowing what I was going to do, and I didn't have anything figured out. And I eventually, the day high school got out, I just kind of said frick it and threw everything away and hitchhiked across country a few times and just started this whole life of traveling and some amazing experiences. But I feel like a lot of that time should have been spent building up a career, building up a resume, doing something that would have benefited me now instead of what I did. So. Jonathan Taylor says, please eat my vegetables. I'm like, I didn't know what to do. Like, if I eat my vegetables, I can't talk, and then you're just sitting there watching me chew, which is a little weird, too. Emily's going to graduate with a master's in December? All right, Emily, that's amazing. A master's? That just seems like like a different universe for me, because it's something like, even if I started that process today, it'd probably take me 10 years to get there. So I'm proud of you. That's really awesome. Patreon. All right. But yeah, who knows? Patreon was really awesome. We set one up for the free pizza dude that went for, man, I think I had that for maybe 5 or 6 months until we ended up just having too much money, which is something I mentioned in a couple videos, that we had too many people donating and we just didn't have enough requests to be able to fill that. We were spending $500-600 out of the pizza fund every week, but we were getting, $200 more than that. So no matter how much food we sent out, there was still that amount left over every week that just kept growing. So we just had to cancel not the OnlyFans account, the Patreon account. But it was a good thing, because then when I actually left the free pizza dude and handed it off, I was able to hand off this huge amount of money to the person running it so that they didn't have to start from scratch. So I'm really glad we did it, and how supportive people were. It was really awesome. Emily talks a little bit there about imposter syndrome, and I can definitely relate to that. I mean, I don't know a ton about that. I couldn't even maybe give you a definition, but it feels like every time I do something good or solid, I diminish it myself because I feel like I had no role in it, and that's a pretty common thing for me, is kind of discrediting the successes that I've had. So it helps a lot to talk about them and to open up with other people, because even me, like watching these videos and going back to see what I talked about with some of my own successes, I feel like I'm more proud of them once I hear myself say them than I am if I just keep them in my head, because they're not as real in my head. That I kind of quantify them once I actually say them out loud, and if I can hear myself say them on the video, it helps a lot. So just keep talking about it would be my advice there. I got OnlyFans on the brain now. I can't stop. I'm going to take another question off of this list. Oh, and I'm going to eat a vegetable while I'm at it. Let's do some of that right there. All right. Oh, that's a good one. Somebody on Facebook asked, what's my biggest pet peeves? Um, my biggest pet peeves, huh? Well, it probably have something to do with when I'm running, and especially downtown or in the city here. And that's, man, I can't tell you how many times I've almost been hit by a car from people who are driving up to a stoplight or a stop sign, and they don't stop before the crosswalk. They fly up and over the crosswalk and stop like right before the light. And how many times I've almost been hit, or my dogs have almost been hit. That's probably my biggest pet peeve, are drivers that don't stop where they're supposed to before crosswalks, because it's so dangerous, and just so dangerous how close we've been. But I probably continue that by saying, cars that are, especially downtown Nashville, maybe something really petty, but something that gets on my nerves so much, because we thrive on tourism here, and more than that, we thrive on drunk tourism. I mean, people call it Nash Vegas. It's the bachelorette capital of the world, because all these parties come here because we have loose alcohol laws. You can hop on these huge trucks and then flatbeds and drive around and get hammered. So one thing that really bothers me is when there's a group of people on the sidewalk taking up the entire sidewalk. That's one of my pet peeves, and it's one of my biggest, especially when I'm running or even walking. I'm a super fast walker. My dogs are always wanting to move. They always want to go fast. So when there's 5 people shoulder to shoulder on the sidewalk and you can't get around them, that'd be another one of my pet peeves, I guess. We could probably talk about my running pet peeves all day, but I'll stop at those two, and especially the crosswalk one, just because of how dangerous that is in a city where people are walking all over, in a city where people are drunk all over. Watch out for those crosswalks. Captain said he likes to walk into the side of cars that stop on crossings. That's good. Maybe I should do that running, but I feel like I'd catch the wrong person doing that. That would just like fly out of his car and try to give me a beating or something. I don't know. That would terrify me. I don't like negative confrontations. Oh, you got an e-bike. That sounds awesome. Wow, I've always wanted an e-bike. I have a bicycle now that somebody on Imager bought me a couple years ago. I posted about how at that time I rode my bike to work every day. It was 5 miles on the side of a highway. It was just terrible. I hated it. And my bike broke down. These people at a store tried to fix it, and I kind of wrote about that wholesome experience of them trying to fix it in a wholesome post, to which one of the first comments said something like, "Shoot me a message, I'll buy you a new bike." And somebody I'd never even met before. So I was in the small town of Columbia at the time, and we chatted a little bit back and forth, and then one day I woke up and she said, go down to the bike store. They'll have something waiting for you. And I was just kind of in disbelief the whole time. I walked down there with Mr. Puckett and walked in and told the guy, I said, "Hey, I'm Mr. Puckett. I heard you might have a bike for me." And they wheeled out this $1,100 bike, which was, probably 10 times as much as I ever had spent on a bike myself. So it's an amazing bike. I love everything about it. But I looked into e-bikes at the time, and wow, do those get expensive? And I can see why it'd be awesome to have one and get around, but they are a pretty penny. So if you do get a hold of one, that's awesome. Have a ton of fun with it. I hope to have one too. So Nunya, ride on the trails around East Nashville. Are you here in my neighborhood? Are you in Nashville? You said you can't wait to ride in East Nashville, and that's where I live. I'm in East Nashville, so I'm trying to figure out who you are. Kristen asked, do you miss anything from the other cities you've lived in? There's really only one that I miss. I think every city that I lived in, I felt like I experienced it and I moved on, so I don't necessarily miss it. But one thing that I definitely miss is Seattle and the mountains outside of Seattle. I mean, I spent so much time running mountains and mountaineering out there. and it's some of the highest. It's the highest concentrated area of waterfalls, over 1,000 feet, and there's just so much moisture out there. It's just the most amazing place, and that's what I miss. Not so much the city, but the mountains. And I've since been to the Rockies, in Utah and Texas and the Guadalupe Mountains and all over, and none of them just quite did it for me the way the Cascade Mountains did it in Seattle. So that's the one thing that I think about all the time, and how I'd love to move back there someday and live in the mountains rather than live in Seattle. Ooh, we got somebody from Southeast Wisconsin. Happy Valentine's Day. That's where my grandparents live. So I know firsthand how cold it is up there. And my parents are in St. Paul, not too far away. Uh, oh, you said Southeast. Okay, so my parents are in St. Paul, across the state there. And the last I checked, it was 23 below real temperature, not even wind chill. It was 23 below. So to hear me complain about 28 degrees that it's been this week seems a little silly, but it's all relative, right? We've had 40, 50-degree days the last couple of weeks, and even got up to 60 a couple of days. So plummeting down to sub 30 feels a whole lot colder than it really is. Hey, Bubs. Hey. That's awesome. No, yeah, that's awesome. Well, you'll have to hit me up. I'd love to hang out sometime if you're in this area. Um, that's awesome. I didn't know we had any Nashvillians here. That's so cool. I am off of Shelby, and I'm pretty close to the stadium. So I'm East Nashville, but I'm not. Some people would say that I'm a little too far west, but to me, anything after the river is east. I'm just a lot closer to the river than some of the people past 5 Points. Yeah, Greg, I would love to. Man, I am dying to check out the Smokies. I mean, there's so much I want to do over there, and on the way to Knoxville and Pigeon Forge, and just to get back into the mountains, especially since my dogs have never seen them. I would love to do that probably more than anything right now, because it's probably the most realistic thing. I'm not going to get out to Seattle anytime soon, but the Smokies seem so close for me to experience. I just have no way to get there, so I hope that's in my near future. That's all right, Jane. It's a huge neighborhood. Huge neighborhood. Yeah, Kristen, that is an amazing park. We have a greenway here on the east side of Nashville, which goes for I don't even know how many miles, because it shoots off in every direction with trails too. So it's only a couple of miles away from downtown, but you feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. It's just beautiful, and really the only thing that's lacking at that point are the mountains, because you feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're on the trails, and there are certain parts of the week you can go and not see anybody. You can be all alone, but I still miss the mountains for sure. I can't believe we've been here for a full hour already. I'm nervous that at any point my camera and my mic are going to die. So if either of those things do happen, please let me know in the chat so I'm not just talking to nobody. All right, let me see. I'm going to go with another question because I only have three of them, and I think I had answered every single question. It was something I did about a month ago, a video called Ask Me Anything, and I put on every social media platform I have and just said, hey, ask me some questions, and I'd love to answer them. And for that video, of course, I wasn't able to answer every single one of them, but I think I'm getting close now through either typing them out, that video, or these two streams, to answering every single one. So I have one here that says, what would you change about yourself if you could change anything? That's interesting. My mind immediately goes to physical things instead of mental or emotional. I mean, um, I would love to probably not have the chronic fatigue syndrome that I do and things like that, but they've all kind of made me who I am. The Tourette syndrome, like every single bout with depression and anxiety that I've had and been able to overcome, it made me who I am today. And I've never been more comfortable in myself than I am today. Now I still have insecurities aplenty, right? But they were so much more before, that I'm probably most comfortable with myself today than at any other day in history, which is cool to say. But if I'm thinking physically, um, I mean, I probably have my beard back, but one thing I guess that does influence that, and I talked about, I think maybe in like my first video ever, was that I have a fake tooth. I have a fake tooth right up front too. It's ridiculous, and it's fairly new. I got it about a year and a half ago, but I can't afford a real one, so I had a tooth taken out, and they wanted to charge me like 2 grand or whatever it was to actually put a replacement up there and I don't know, drill it in or whatever they do with it. But I couldn't afford that at the time, so I went and just got what they call a flipper. It's basically a retainer with the tooth on it. And when you hear me lisp or have or some speaking difficulties where I'm not pronouncing certain letters, it's because I have a retainer in my mouth, and I'm so self-conscious about it because I went 32 years of my life without it, and now I have it. So I have to take it out for eating. So I remember when I first got out on vacation the other day, we sat down for the first dinner, and I just had to say to them, all right, I have a fake tooth, and I'm about to take it out because I have to when I eat, so please don't be shocked when you see me missing a front tooth. And especially when I think about it in like a romantic way too, like to be with a woman, and I haven't kissed a woman since I've had it in, and that's, it just sounds ridiculous. Like, I don't know, I hate this thing. So it was only, let's see, $700 I think compared to the 2 grand, but because it's a retainer, I've broken it 4 different times. So right now it's held together by super glue in 4 different places. It's a jigsaw puzzle now, but I've had it replaced 3 times. So I've already paid more for it than I would have just to get like an actual tooth drilled up, but I've just never had that money all at once to be able to get a replacement. So if I could change anything, I'd probably say I want my tooth back and to just not have the problems with it that I did, and I'd feel a lot more confident about it with my smile. That's one thing I like the mustache for, because it kind of covers it up a little bit, or at least makes me feel a little more comfortable with it. Whereas when I don't have any facial hair and I smile real big, you can kind of see the top of it and see that it's not real. So it's a big insecurity of mine that that's probably the one thing I would change physically, because besides that, I'm pretty okay with my body. I mean, it's not perfect, but there's nothing that I look in the mirror and just really hate except for that tooth. Kristen says if I ever want a road trip to the Smokies, that she's down. I would do it any day of the week, dude. Any day of the week that you would want to go. You know I don't have a vehicle, so that's a lot more responsibility on you than me. But I could be ready in 5 minutes any day of the week, and I'd go to the Smokies with you. Hey. Hey. Oh, Emily, you live in St. Paul. No way, that's awesome. I lived all over St. Paul. Midway, Frogtown, the east suburbs, Woodbury, Maplewood, White Bear Lake, all over the place. I love St. Paul, and quite a bit of time in Minneapolis too, but more in St. Paul, especially growing up and in the last couple of years. I love it there. That's exactly right, Jane, and that's a perfect quote from Douglas Adams too. That's exactly right. Yeah, and if anybody caught the Douglas Adams, I guess the toast to Douglas Adams in my last video was Channel 42 News, The Meaning of Life, the Universe, and Everything. That was one of my favorite books and series of books growing up, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So I try to reference it whenever I can. X equals Penguins asks, what are my thoughts on burritos? I'm not a big burrito guy. Now, I'm a huge Mexican, Latin food, Oaxacan, whatever it might be, but burritos are not so much my jam. I do dig tacos. I dig smaller portions. Maybe I just haven't had a really awesome burrito in my life, but I'm much more for tacos, or I'm a big taco salad guy, too. I love having it in a bowl where I can just scoop it out with chips, I guess, instead of just picking up a flour tortilla and eating that the whole time. But if anybody said, here, eat this burrito, I would eat any one in the world. I probably just wouldn't purchase one if I was out to dinner. And one place that I really love that I try to always, when I eat out, to eat somewhere local, but there is one place that I frequent, and that's Chipotle, because Chipotle has amazing tofu, and that's just not something you find in Mexican restaurants. Sofritas, you do not find tofu dishes unless it's like a vegetarian restaurant. Um, but Chipotle has it, and they have amazing tofu. So to get a burrito bowl and a whole bunch of chips is basically kind of a taco salad, I guess, without the bowl on it. And I absolutely love that. So that's something I get probably far too often. But yeah, tofu and Mexican food is hard to find. So if you find it, latch onto it. It's great. Jilly Bean asked, "What is a taco salad?" I mean, it's basically everything you'd find in a taco or burrito, but it's in a tortilla bowl. So think of like a tortilla chip, but that tortilla chip is huge and it's made into a bowl, and then you stuff that bowl with, beans, meats, pico de gallo, cheese, lettuce, and stuff like that. You can break off part of the bowl and then eat it almost like nachos. So I guess it's really kind of a built-up nacho in a sense, but it's just in a tortilla bowl. It's fantastic. Pesto burritos, Jane. Yes. Now we got a taco salad conversation. That's awesome. We are talking taco salads. Welcome, Angelina. And that's something good too. There are certain Mexican dishes that are just not as good when you take the meat out. And I'm a vegetarian, but I feel like taco salads are when you can just have that huge layer of refried beans or even black beans on the bottom. It's still just as good to me. South Texas, welcome, South Texas. I only have two questions left, and they're both super simple, so I'm just going to fly through these two real quick. One of them was, do your dogs sleep with you? And that is a heck yes, every single night, without a doubt. Um, they're super cute. Mrs. Puckett likes to be kind of at the bottom of the bed. She doesn't like to be bothered when she's sleeping, and that's cool. PJ is always right by my face on the pillow until at some point in the night he gets too cold, and he wakes me up by scratching at the blanket that's over top of me so that I can lift it up and he can go underneath the blanket. And he wakes me up every night, but I tell you, it's just the cutest damn thing ever. So it doesn't bother me at all. I love it. I fall asleep just kind of face to face with him, but then he'll get up and scratch to get under the blanket. That was something, though, Mrs. Puckett had a hard time adjusting to. She would not go in the bed. You could tell that she had been punished with her past owner by going on the bed because she was so nervous just to jump on furniture and just would not jump on the bed no matter what. So that was a learning curve for her. But there was a certain point, like a weekend, where she would finally like get up on her own and be up there. And every time she would jump up on her own, she would kind of look up to me just to make sure it was okay. And I'd give her a smile or say "good girl," and she'd just freak out, and the tail would start flying. And it was so funny to see a dog be happy about something so basic. She kind of had to learn how to be a dog all over again, and how to be loved, because she never was, from the sounds of her past. So yeah, I'm proud of her every day. And the other question was, what's your favorite movie? Which I feel like maybe I talked about this last week, maybe not. It's Harold and Maude. It's a movie from 1972. The entire soundtrack is done by Cat Stevens. It's a fantastic soundtrack, and it's a dark comedy about a 21-year-old guy who falls in love with a 79-year-old woman. But there are just so many incredible themes in it, and it's so well done. And I mean, if you just watch it for what it is, it can seem like a depressing movie, but it's not. And to me, it's the most uplifting movie ever, because our round character learns so much by the end of it. And there are just so many important lessons there. And the cinematography is incredible. It's well done. So if you ever get a chance to check out Harold and Maude, I would recommend doing so. I know a couple of years ago it was on YouTube for free. I don't know if it still is or if it's streaming somewhere. And it might take you some time to get into it if you don't dig those old movies, but I guarantee if you sit down and watch the whole thing, you'll be happy that you did. It's wonderful. This chat has gone crazy with taco salads. I love this. Yeah, Andy, that's why I thought I had talked about the movie before, because I thought I remembered you commenting on it. It is fantastic. I absolutely love it. taco pizza, yeah, I get that there's a place for that and that people love it. Not my favorite, definitely, especially I'm not much for olives, which I think a lot of people put on it. And as much as I love uh, bell peppers, I just don't love them on my pizza, which I think are usually on there too. And then meat, of course, too. I guess I'll have to order a or a taco salad tomorrow. This is making me super hungry. All right, that's awesome. So that's all of my questions. Oh, I answered you on Reddit with it. Okay, Annie. That's all the questions. I think I've answered every single thing that came out. That was so overwhelming for a couple of days how many questions I got, and some of them are super tough. I can definitely say the toughest one was somebody who asked why I didn't have a girlfriend, and that actually made the video, the Ask Me Anything video, and it was probably the hardest time for me in these videos that I was talking and trying not to get choked up, to not cry during the middle of it, because it just brought back some unpleasant memories, which is not a bad thing. I mean, we all have to relive our past at certain points to be able to move forward with it, right? So it's not like I regret answering that question. It was a good thing, but it was just a really tough thing for me to go through. Where some of them were a little more easy, like do your dog sleep with me? That one was one that took a while. I think it took me a while to answer. I just kind of stumbled through the whole thing, and then when I finally got to the real point, it was tough. It was tough to answer, but I'm glad I went through it for sure. And Lisa says Harold and Maude is on Amazon Prime, so check it out if you like it. I would absolutely think you would love it. It is fantastic. Emily says we all have a few bad exes. Well, unfortunately, I don't know that I have a few bad exes as much as I am the bad ex. But yeah, we've all had our ups and downs in the dating and relationship world. All right, bear with me one moment. I need to refreshen up this drink and make sure that we're not running out of time. Whew. And yes, we are definitely running out of time. I didn't have my phone all the way charged up, so we're not going to get to the 2 hours. And frankly, I'm surprised we made it this far. I thought it'd be a 30-minute dinner. So thank you guys so much for coming in. The phone's going to die in about 5 minutes probably. So we'll start to wrap things up slowly here. But thank you so much for being here. This was a little bit easier today to look at the chat. I know the last time I did this, I missed so many questions and comments, so I apologize. But this one was a little more chill and a little more easy for me to follow along, which was really nice. Yes, these streams are rewatchable, so I don't know if it uploads right away, but within the next couple of hours, it'll be on the channel just like a normal video. But it does take about 12 hours for the chat to be visible. So if you want to watch the video after we sign off here and actually see how the chat interacted and what the comments were and the questions, that'll take about 12 hours. Sometime tomorrow that'll be up, but the video will be up for normal watching, yeah? I will. I think that'd be awesome to do this on Valentine's Day every year for sure. Definitely. I've got the vacation vacation tradition, and I'll do this too. I think that'd be awesome. I don't know that I'm extra lonely on Valentine's Day, but it could certainly have gotten to that. And it was difficult today looking at my past on Facebook, like I said, with all these pictures of Mr. Puckett and all the cool things we used to do on Valentine's Day, and all these pictures of my exes showed up too. So it's a little bit tougher for me, and this made it a whole lot easier to be able to do this, be able to talk to you like this. I love it. So just so that we don't just cut off like we did last week, I think I am going to sign off here because it ended so abruptly last week. I felt bad about that. But thank you guys so much for being here. You made my night a whole lot better. And if anybody is not in the Discord and wants to come hang out with all these beautiful people on a daily basis, just reach out to me. I don't know, on Twitter or on Reddit. It's a good place to hit me up too. And we'll give you the Discord link. So we're going to sign off here for me, Mrs. Puckett, who has ran away, and little PJ. I hope everybody had a beautiful Valentine's Day, and we're going to move forward with Puckett Week tomorrow. You're going to hear so much about it soon. You'll probably be sick of it, but we're going to do a lot of good things this week, and I can't wait. So have a beautiful evening, everyone. I will talk to all of you in one way or another sooner than later.